Hi everyone, welcome to the first, not the first MacBreak Studio Live, but the first time we're actually going to show you us doing, well mostly these guys, doing shows live. So, and watch this, we need a background here. Can we...
throw something in there?
Yeah. Can you throw something in there, Jeff? Jeff, you back there? No, maybe we can't. I thought we could. We caught Jeff off guard.
So we just got green.
Yeah, we got green back there right now, but we'll have something more. So so we'll be switching back and forth. We'll try to do a little keying, maybe possibly, and but what you're going to actually see is the actual show. So it's going to be a 5 or 10 minute show. That's what these guys do. But when you're watching, if you have questions, you can put them up on the question engine, and so after we're done doing one of the shows, we'll ask some of the questions that come up while people are watching the show.
Excellent.
You'll also, this is the ultimate ADD version of the podcast because what you're actually going to see also on top of the show, if they get talking too long, sometimes they just get into this kind of long-winded explanation. We'll just start wandering around with the other cameras. So if you click on one of the other cameras, you'll see some wide shots here.
They can do that?
What?
Click on other cameras.
I can. The edit isn't moving very quickly. I'm not sure exactly what's
going on.
There we go.
Nice.
So here you can see the studio here. And now, Jeff, are you able to key? Are you able to key something here? I don't know.
Silence.
Here we go. Wait. Look at that.
Hey, there we go.
Just like that.
You put
so you're like wondering, why do we do all
there?
this post? Yeah, we go. We don't think we have any underwater right now, but we'd like to.
It's a clean key, Alex.
It is.
So
this
clean.
is the live. So I just want to say this is a Panasonic HS450. This is the keyer. I mean, this is the switcher that we use. And it's got this killer keyer built into it. We're pretty excited about it. And so we use it for logos and stuff. This is one of the first times we've ever used it for actual people. I think it was designed for people. We don't usually use it for that way. So we're very excited about it. So anyway, we'll sometimes cut to this, but sometimes we'll just show green. So if we just go back, sometimes we can put
ourselves.
It's scarier. Yeah, exactly. So hopefully you guys enjoy this kind of informal version of it. So you'll see these, of course, if you're getting the MacBreak Studio podcast, of course you'll see these, and you'll see these on YouTube. And so, but they'll be the regular clean versions that you're used to, as opposed to just kind of this AD crazy version. But if you have questions about the production or questions about what they're talking about.
So we've been trying to understand what we're doing today for a while.
We're just doing your show.
Yeah, so we're doing our show, but we're doing our show on the other show.
Yes, exactly. You're doing the show on the other show.
We're doing the weekly MacBreak Studio on the monthly MacBreak Studio Live.
Exactly.
And then will these weekly MacBreak Studios that we're about to do live also show up as one of the weekly shows?
They'll be part of the weekly show. You'll see a clean version, and the people who never watch this live version will never know that it happened. They'll just go, wow, this just looks like a MacBreak.
But you're getting to see sort of everything that happens around the
scenes. Yeah, so if you have questions about how we're doing certain things or questions about what they're talking about, more importantly, that's what you really should be asking questions about, because these guys are here right now, and I'm here all the time. So you should, if you have questions about the content that they're talking about, post them in the question engine, vote them up, and what I'll do is I'll come back in and we'll have a conversation.
Well, that sounds great.
So let's get this party started.
So they're able to switch to the monitor.
Yep.
And whenever you want to.
Yep.
There it is. Look, beautiful.
Wow.
Like a Pro 10.
Wait. Watch this. Jeff, key these guys in front of the monitor.
Key us, please.
Yeah. See, it all fades in, too.
Yeah,
exactly. Look at that.
Can you do like a page peel it in?
Jeff's like, okay.
That's clean.
Yeah.
I'm okay. All right. So slate it.
So we're just slating. We're gonna do the whole normal
slate,
thing. Okay.
And you're gonna do the intro, everything.
Normal thing we do. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Slate in. Okay. And we are already rolling cameras. So mark it.
MacBreak Studio, scene 1, take 1.
Full slate.
You ready? Ready, set? All right. Welcome to MacBreak Studio. I'm your host, Mark Spencer, and with me today, surprise, surprise, we have Steve Martin.
Yep, I'm here again.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Excited to show you some new cool stuff.
New cool stuff about what?
Well, I thought we'd take a look at color correction in Final Cut Pro 10.
Final Cut Pro 10. Yeah. Color correction in Final Cut Pro 10.
Yes.
So you can do color correction in Final Cut Pro 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Using the color square.
Sorry. The color square.
It's the color board, actually.
The color board.
It's a color board.
Okay, the color board as opposed to color wheels. You got
color square. I caught you off guard, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah,
okay,
but it really, look, the color board is a paradigm shift from color wheels, the way we're used to working in traditional color grading apps, but it's really powerful and it's very fluid. I mean, once you kind of get used to how it works, you can do some amazing stuff in it.
Well, to me, it's like every part of Final Cut Pro 10. The more I spend with it and wrap my head around each of the components, the magnetic timeline and the metadata-driven everything, it starts to really make sense. And for me, you get fast. That's
Very
to me,
fast. That's the key. It's speed. It's all about speed.
You go back to Final Cut 7 and you're like, it's like going into molasses. I mean, you get very used to this after just spending a little time with it.
Absolutely.
So why don't you show us what you're going to do here?
Okay, so what we have on the timeline are, well, 3 clips. And by the way, this is from a shoot that actually Mark and I are doing up in Napa right now. We're shooting a video on this amazing winery, $150 bottle wine country. And this is just one of the shots. And if you look at this image, we shot it with the DSLR camera, and we used a flat profile, so that way we can kind of stretch the dynamic range of the image.
So we make it look bad. By default, it looks bad, but it actually has room to grow.
Exactly. Right? So this would be a kind of akin to shooting raw. I mean, you're not really shooting raw video, but it's akin to giving you kind of this range to actually pull out detail.
Right.
So that's what we're going to do. But I'm going to show you that in the context of a very common color correction scenario, which is limiting your correction to certain portions of the frame, what we typically call secondary color correction. Primary would be correcting the entire frame. Secondary would be, let's work on just a portion of the frame.
Okay.
And so what I'm about to show you is a technique that a lot of colorists use where, let's say, like in this image, it's very, you can see it's very bright at the top of the frame, and we want to maybe work on just the top, bring the luminance, bring the brightness down without it affecting the bottom portion of the frame.
Okay.
We might do that to, say, create what's called a grad effect. Like if you were shooting video, you might have a filter on that has a kind of a gradient, like half and half.
Like a gradient, okay.
Right, and you can do that in post, and which we're going to do with this mask in the color board.
Great.
It's pretty cool. Let's
do it.
So I'm going to select this clip, and I'm going to go to the color board. Let's go over here to the magic wand, say Show Color Board, and Command 6, bring it up, and actually. I left something out. Before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and limit the correction. I said I was going to do that first before we go to the color board. You'll see these 2 buttons here. One says Add Shape Mask. One's Add Color Mask. Okay, we're going to work with a shape mask. As soon as I click that, you'll see I get a circular shape over the image. But a lot of people want, what's the circle? What can I do with a circle here? Well, there's this little drag handle. If you pull on that, you can actually turn it into a square.
Okay, or anything in between, rounded rectangle.
A rounded rectangle, exactly.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do now is to just grab the square, just kind of pull it out and stretch it across the image like this. Okay. And then you'll see you have a drag target, so I can just move this whole thing up the top of the frame here, like that. And you'll notice that this line here, this area in here, this is for the feathering, so you can control how the secondary correction feathers into the portion that's not being corrected.
So the correction that you're about to do will only occur within the area defined by this mask and the feathering.
Exactly.
As opposed to the other option, which was a color, which would limit your correction to specific color values.
Exactly.
Okay, so you could just make all the greens more saturated.
Right, or I can just click on the white sky and just work on that.
I see, okay.
Exactly.
But you're working on a shape, basically.
Exactly, just a shape. So now that we have it selected, now we're going to go into the color board. Okay, and then one way you can do that is you have this little arrow here. We'll just click that. Now we're in the color board. Okay. Now I'm going to be working inside the mask. How do I know that? You'll see a button that says here Inside Mask. Now I'm going to go to the exposure. This is typically where you start. You want to work with the luminance values. I'm just going to go ahead and just bring down the overall brightness of the image. Notice it's only affecting the top half of the image, not the bottom half. See? So I'm bringing this down. And just so you can see this feathering, as I can pull, you can see how that's feathering it into the image.
It spreads it out, so you don't have a hard line.
You don't have a hard line, exactly. Yep. So there, I'm bringing it down here. And see, it's bringing out a lot more details in kind of the background areas.
Yeah, you get some detail back that usually you think when you blow something out, the detail's gone, but you actually seem to be able to recover a little bit in there.
Absolutely. Now, what we're going to do is go to the, I'm going to go to the color portion. This is actually the color board, even though I clicked on a color wheel.
Okay.
Here's the color board. And what you want to do is, I want to kind of warm up the sky a little bit. I want to kind of give the idea that maybe it's early morning or what have you. I kind of want an orangish kind of feel. So I'm going to just grab this target, which is the overall color balance for the entire blacks, mids, the shadows, mids, and highlight tonal ranges. So it represents all of them.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is just drag this over here to the red side of the color board. And to add more of, let's say, orange, I want to go into a positive direction. Notice here that you have the little plus That means you're going to be moving into a positive direction. So I'm going to just grab this, and I'm going to just add a little bit of warmth to the image right there. Now, as you can see this, I'm doing that because it's a global control for color balance. It's actually this, adding kind of this orange color to the trees.
Can you go too far and then come back?
Sure, absolutely.
Everything I do, I like to go too far and come back just to see. Okay, so you can really see the impact of it there.
And then you can go in the negative direction, and it push it in the opposite direction.
You're taking the red out.
Taking the red out.
Or adding the opposite. Okay.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and push it to about here. I don't want too much, just subtle. I mean, that's all for me. Color grading is about subtlety a lot of times. So I push it a little bit that way. And I want to take some of the reds out of the tree. So that would be this control, the shadows. Okay. So the thing is, you have to notice, you need to move it into that tonal, that color area, and then I'm going to just pull down into a negative direction. So you can see, like, I'm pulling some of that orange out of the shadow.
Just out of the shadows. Just You're leaving it in the mids and highlights.
Exactly.
And those overlap each other somewhat, right? Those shadows, midtones, highlights. There's some interaction between them.
There is some interaction, but because the tree is so much in shadow, you see the most pronounced effect. Yeah, it really pulls it out there. I'm going to go ahead and adjust this a little bit so you can see what's going on. Now what's interesting here is I can now work on the lower portion of the image and have a completely separate color correction for the lower portion of the image simply by clicking this outside mask. Remember, we're working inside the mask now.
Right.
Now I want to work outside the mask.
Makes sense.
And so I'm going to go to outside the mask. I'm going to start with exposure. And what I want to do is just lower the midtones. So I want to kind of bring out some of the midtones and make this kind of crisper image at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and grab...
Increase the contrast a little bit.
Increase the contrast. So we're just going to pull the mids kind of down a little bit like this. All right. And I might maybe to pull a little shadow, so a little darker there. Again, play with this border so I can just kind of... I'm feathering.
Yeah.
See what I'm doing is I'm feathering kind of that orange into the lower half of the image. But remember, I'm working on this outside mask. This is a separate color correction from the inside mask. So notice I can click back and forth. Two separate. I'm working on exposure.
And work them independently.
Work them independently. So I'm working outside the mask. I'm going to go back to, let's say, color, and let's say if I wanted to, add a little bit more orange in the midtones, I'm going to grab the midtone target and just kind of push it into the midtones just a little bit like this.
Yeah, it kind of warms up the ground.
Warms up the ground, exactly. And it might be earlier. It might be an earlier portion of the day. You might not see as much detail. So what I might do here is go into saturation and actually then bring down the saturation of that orange, because there wouldn't be as much. It wouldn't seem if I really push it. It wouldn't be that pop. So I just kind of bring it down a little bit. So
I also want to make it pop. I always like this is super saturated.
Right, I know, but sometimes
but it's not realistic. I know it's not what you're going for here. You're going for a subtle effect here, this morning kind of effect.
Right. Because if there's not as much light, you're not going to see saturated colors.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I brought down
a little gray kind of. Yeah, and it's good. It really creates a more evocative mood for it, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So all we did was just use this simple shape mask to control the color grading at the top of the frame and the bottom of the frame. You have a lot of control there, and I actually wish there was a button that I can do like in color. You're going to Command G. You can actually toggle the grade
on and off.
Right. You have to kind of go back out, and then you've got to turn the color. It's an extra click. I wish there was a command key to be able to do that.
While you're still doing your correction, you want to be able to toggle it.
It's really important
because you get used to it, right? You're working on doing corrections, and whatever your correction was, it starts to become normal. It starts to look normal because you've been looking at it too long.
Yeah.
And if you toggle it off, you're like, wow, I went much further than I realized.
Yeah. I usually stare out the window and blink really fast, and then look back at the screen, and that kind of reorients.
I just put a flashlight in my
eyes. Exactly. But you can see here, it's quite dramatic. I mean, the difference here.
It's a huge difference. Can you just zoom in a little bit so people can maybe see it a little bit closer since we're...
oh, yeah, we can zoom. Yeah, so there we are. You can see before. There's before. It's pretty flat.
Yep.
And here, we brought out the detail, and we've added a little bit of color to the sky and to the ground to kind of hint at, early morning or...
Now, if I wanted that, I did all that, and I liked it, and I need to apply it to other clips. Do I have to do that whole thing all over again? Is there a way I can?
Well, the easiest way is to. Well, there's two ways to do that.
Okay.
One is you can select the clip, and you can copy it.
Okay.
And then you can paste the effect onto this other clip. You can just edit, paste effects. But there's a better way to do it.
Okay.
And I was playing with
paste effects will paste anything you've done, transformations,
everything.
Yeah.
But there's a better way to do it.
Okay.
And then I was playing with this on the airplane. Actually, when I was waiting for my other plane to arrive. So here's what's really neat is if I select this right here, and there's this great feature, and if you select the clip, you'll notice here's this match color
Yes.
If I click this choose button, I can then go over to this clip that I've already color graded
Yes.
and find a frame. Say, let's say it looks good, and just click.
It's a still
And
image.
just still, see, I just clicked, and right here you can see, well, it's attempted to match.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and it's a pretty good match. And I can click apply. And to me, this is the best way to get two shots to kind of match together. You can see that.
Yeah, yeah. They really come close together.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's a nice little rack focus effect on that.
Yeah.
Who did that? That's a good shot.
Yeah, it was me. It was just they good.
Oh, I thought that was my shot.
Maybe it was.
No, I think it was your shot. Could you also save it as a preset, like once you graded it, save it as a preset
You can
color grade and then apply it again that way?
You can save presets. You have to be in the color board, but one thing that you need to be aware of when you're in the color board is that this is one preset for this this particular mask. It's not going to save. In other words, if you do save preset,
Yeah.
it's not going to save the outside,
Inside
the
versus
inside,
inside.
outside as one thing. It's going to save
okay.
it as it's going to record essentially the color saturation exposure for that color.
For the inside mask and apply it to everything.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
So it's not going to do what
Yeah,
you think
not
it's going to do.
exactly the same, right? And when you did the match color thing, it's not actually applying the mask like you did
No,
before.
it's
It's just
not.
trying to match the color as best as possible.
It's in fact, if I go back here, you'll see that there is
There's
no
on
mask
that particular
applied
shot,
to it.
but
yeah.
it does really match it quite well.
Yeah.
Steve, awesome. So great color correction tools in Final Cut Pro 10.
Yep.
And if you want to learn more, about Final Cut Pro 10, the place to go is
Rippletraining.com.
rippletraining.com. Steve, thank you very much.
Glad to be here. It's fun.
And thank you for watching MacBreak Studio.
And cut. There's not really any cut. Just kind of roll it.
Right.
All
Color
right.
square.
Can I
color
sorry.
square.
I
Oh my
got
God.
you on that, didn't I?
The color square.
It's all about the color square.
The tool's pretty cool. It's like,
People are really enjoying the watching this process. I think that,
Have they been? We haven't
see?
really been watching. They've been cutting around
Yeah,
and
yeah,
showing
see,
other
look,
stuff.
look,
going on.
Alex. I mean, it
Yeah,
matched it
it
pretty
matched
good.
it very
It
nicely.
matched
It
it really
did.
nice. This is the stuff that saves you a ton of time.
well, I mean, we were talking about this before the show. Is that we are probably about 30% of our work now is being done in Final Cut 10, and the stuff that we're doing is 4 times faster. Like when we do it in Final Cut 10, it is so it can't do everything, and there's definitely things that we're using Final Cut 7. We're experimenting with Premiere. And we've kind of decided we need to know a little bit of everything. So we're it's part of our training process, and so Avid, everything else, and so. But I got to say that when you get your head around it, that's the key. When you understand the compound clips, when you understand those pieces of being able to compile those things, it's pretty amazing.
It is.
Yeah, it's good. I think some people were asking, Carolyn, we had someone asking a question about the key.
Oh, this key. I was going to say. So I'm going to do King over there in a minute. It's going to be complicated.
That's right.
Oh, so yeah, so there are a couple questions about the lighting of the key. Can you guys do a wide? Can you cut to a wide, Jeff? There we go. So one of the things, I'm going to talk loud. I'm not mic'd, so I'm just going to talk a little louder. I'm sure you can pick us up. So we've got keynotes going all the way across the top. These boards are just there to make sure that we don't get any spill coming this way from the lights. And so we've got these, and what's amazing is that we only have one bulb in each one of these that's on. So it doesn't take a lot of these lights to light this up. Now these are the one you're seeing up here. That's that's for hair lights and stuff like that. And then we also have so we have these guys here now to even it out. You'll see out on the outer edges we've got some light panels that just kind of keep our scope from keep our values from kind of bending. They just kind of fill in those corners a little bit.
vignetting.
No vignette. And the great thing about that, you can see that there's a little bit
See right there? Yeah.
there's a little bit there. That's
bar.
where the curve starts, and it's where this is falling off. So it's not. Here's what I would say: is it's not as pure as when we used to have it on a flat wall.
Yeah.
But it's really big.
good.
You mean back at Market Street in San Francisco?
Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say it's as clean as that, but it's still far cleaner than what a lot of people are shooting. And so the key though is the evenness. And one of the things we worry about is evenness. Even though there's a gradient going this way a little bit, and you can see it. When you get close, you don't see it much at all. What's important is that because certain sections, the most important section to keep it working is from here to here because it's our hair. It's what everyone's going to notice. Like when the key's good, go ahead and pull a key, Jeff. Maybe There's the background. There's us. Yeah. So what people are going to notice when they, and this key is good. It's not as good as what we'll end up with, for the actual show, because it won't be live. It'll be something else. But what you notice is whether all the little frizzies and everything else get lost on the hair and so on and so forth.
We don't have much going on.
Yeah, pretty soon I'm not going to have any hair at all. So anyway, that's what people notice when they think of it. And so, what you definitely don't want is in that area, you want that to be as even as possible, because everything else you can push a little harder or do whatever you're going to do, and you're going to.
Or you can use a garbage mat or whatever.
Garbage, yeah. We like this. We typically this is actually keying live really nicely.
It's clean.
But this reflection, a lot of times what we're doing is we actually key. We just draw a mat around here,
because you can see the green reflection right here.
Right, you see a little bit of the green reflection.
Actually,
right there, yeah.
There. They're green.
Right there, yeah, right there. So what we do then is we actually draw a mat around here, and we'll draw one around oftentimes the monitor. There you go.
Nice.
And you got some free advertising for Coke on that one. Nice one.
I guess I do.
There was a lot of people running around going, "There's a Coke on that!" There's like we're just used to working on stuff. We were like, "You can't do that." I'm like, let it go. But let's put it down there. The next one, get it out of the way. That's because they know that I might make them roto it out. We can't do it. Let's do a blur for the whole one.
He drank.
Jeff's back there like,
hard job.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard as I was drinking.
Anyway, so that's all I gotta say.
Did that answer the question?
I think that was the question.
That was it?
That was the question. People are really enjoying watching the behind the scenes of this process.
Good.
So sorry, say that again. So the question is are we using the TriCaster for keying and switching? And the answer is no. We're using a Panasonic 450, HS450 to do it. The TriCaster's keyer is probably pretty good. I haven't used it that much. I don't think it's at the same level as this keyer. I don't want to say to belittle the TriCaster in any way, because I think that Leo uses it, and I will say that especially the new one, the new 850, I think, is pretty amazing. I mean, because it has, like, when you're talking about lower thirds, everything's built in. It's got the alpha channels. You can put all that live stuff in. Our mixer, the 450, doesn't have a lot of that stuff built in. It has it does have 18 inputs, including 2 DVIs and 16 HD SDI inputs, which is useful for us, and 5 SDI outputs. And it has what we think is a Primac keyer. They don't talk about it that way, but we're pretty sure it's a Primac keyer built in. That's what we've been keying all this stuff with. And so it's very, very powerful. It's a little bit more basic. I like having our graphics in lower thirds run by a second operator. Now, we're not doing a lot in this live event, but we do a lot of on-the-road events for clients where we're running lower thirds and all kinds of graphics and videos. And I actually like having another person doing that. I don't want the same person that's doing the edit doing that, because I don't want them to have to think about both of those things. So it doesn't bother me. Anyway, that's it.
So do you run ISO cameras just in case they misspelled something in a lower third? You can go in and cut it out.
So one of the cool things that the HS450 does is that it actually has it has what's called a clean output and a full out program output. Right. So what we do is we can send it all out, and so we have one version that's the edit without any graphics, which is the clean one, and then one's that's the full one. So if we screw something up, which has happened, right, we can always go back and find that clean one and then fix it and put it in and everything else. So it allows us to kind of go back and clip that stuff out. We also tend to capture. We don't tend to capture all of the ISOs. It depends on how big the program is. I mean, today we were doing one where we were capturing all the cameras individually on KeyPros, but we oftentimes, what happens is when we're shooting an event, there's actually a whole other editor that's just doing what we call IMAGs, which are the stuff when you see people on the screen. Sure. It tends to be referred to as the IMAG, and the spider, which is what is throwing generally on a big event, is what's throwing stuff on the screen. And like a spider has got all these inputs, from the overhead and from Keynote and from all these, and like if you're at an event, everything's done in Keynote. Like, it's cute. The client may submit their stuff in PowerPoint, because they're business, they're a corporation, right. They have to use PowerPoint. And then the event company quietly converts it all to Keynote so that they can make it actually look nice. So anyway, and actually run well. And so all of that stuff feeds in. oftentimes they have a mix that's their spider and all of their cameras. We will capture that as well. So those are our two. So on top of ours, so we have like 4 Key Pros stacked up.
Wow.
Then we have H.264 recordings that we do, so we can get it up to YouTube really quickly. And that's a whole other talk. Oh. Sorry, I'm taking over. These guys, you have these guys. I told you not to ask me questions because I'm here all the time. Okay.
He's interpreting.
Yes. So the microphones are, these are shotguns. These are NTG2s, the Rode mics, and there's 3 of them. And because there's 3 of us here, and so we have them crossed over. They're not quite as close together as I'd like on the ends here, but they're very close. So we have, one for each person kind of coming down. Now, all of those are going into a Sound Devices 788T. And then we are recording each one of them individually so that we can go back and work on them. Obviously, there's going to be some crossover, but they're pretty directional. And then we are also mixing, selectively mixing some of those to the right and left channels that we're sending out. So I think all the shotguns, we have some lavs that we have as a backup. So the lavs are all on the right channel and the shotguns are all on the left channel, or the other way around, so that we can actually selectively decide which ones we want to use. And then we're getting all of them as a separate track. So if we have 3 people up here and we decide we really want to go crazy, we'll have 3 lavs on them. And there'll be 6 mics for 3 people, and they'll all be going back there as separate channels. And it allows us to, we're a little paranoid about audio.
Room to grow.
Yeah, go ahead. We have a couple from the Ideas platform. So how does a traveling mat work? That's the crux of the question. Let me get my laptop so I can read it right out. Hold on.
Well, you had an iPad last time where you...
My iPad's somewhere in the office.
But now he's getting him right in his ear.
Somewhere in the office, my iPad is sitting, but it's been a busy couple days. We've been having lots of shoots, and I don't know where it is at the moment.
So you can look at the questions.
Yeah, but I'm all logged in. Okay, so
Animating the mask.
what was wait. So the top one here right now is, what about animating the mask? Any tips or tricks?
Well, let's look at animation. I mean, yes, you can animate the mask. I'm going to select it here, and as you
so if that camera was actually sort of tilting,
if it was tilting, you
down.
could animate the mask.
Okay, have the kind of gradient stay with the sky.
Right, now you can see where my mouse is right here. That means I can add a keyframe for that. There, I add the keyframe, and then move the playhead. Add the keyframe, add another keyframe, and then change the position of the mat. Right. And so essentially, it would track those keyframes would track position. Now it's not like color, which actually had a tracker where you actually pick a point and it tracked the motion. Right. It's not that sophisticated. It's a simple keyframe. You can keyframe the position of the mat from one place to the other. So if
for a lot of basic stuff,
for basic stuff, it's fine. Yeah. But that's how you'd essentially do it.
So you could follow somebody's head, if it moved a little bit, but not by analyzing and tracking, but by setting keyframes.
Correct.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there it is right there.
What
happened to? Yeah. Well, the thing is that you have to actually click on the little icon to actually see the mat. But see, I'm sitting on that keyframe right there.
Keyframe, so if you drag it now,
so now if I move it up or down, or maybe down like this, you should be able to see. Yeah, you can scrub through it. You should see.
There it goes.
You can see it animating. See, so that's how you do it.
Nice. Next question, is the background key source image out of focus, or do you blur the key to mimic the depth of field? Oh, that's for the key. So when we actually do a key, not this angle.
This is the ADD show.
Yeah, it's like about what we're talking about, and then about what we were doing. Yeah. So if Jeff, if you want to pop this in, the answer to this question is that it is not depth of field. It's a blurred image. We just blurred it a little bit. Looks nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so and I have to admit this background, which was created by Pixelmember, and he's in England, and my mind escapes me at the moment. He did a great job on it. He built, this is actually a 3D thing that we rendered out one image, because we thought we could do these big 3D moves and everything else. We rendered out one image like 5 years ago, and 4 years ago, and there it is. We keep on thinking we're going to go back and build another set, and we've been building so many other people's sets that we haven't gotten around to our own.
Yeah.
So anyway, Someday we'll get it. But yeah, to make it look like it was a little further behind us than it actually is, we blurred it just a little bit. And someday we're going to build a new one. With the cinema's new physical camera, I want to go ahead and build one. But that was from Chris Tuttle. The first one was from Eric Emmerich. And next question is from Chris Tuttle as well. Is there a way to remove the green screen reflection coming off the desk? And we actually, you don't actually remove it. You can actually, what's kind of nice about it is it creates this semi-transparent bit. If you take your background image, if you cut this out and then take your background image and blur it just a little bit, like move it and blur it a little bit and stick it back in, it actually looks like it's reflecting the background of your digital set.
Nice.
So it's actually a feature, not a bug. So paste attributes. Can you no longer now back to you guys? Can you no longer? This is the ultimate show for me. It's like the ADD special. So can you no longer choose the attributes and individual filters like you could? Can you no longer choose the attributes and individual filters like you could in Final Cut 7?
What was his name? Scorpion. I'm sorry.
Chris Tuttle.
Oh, it's Chris Tuttle.
No, this one's from Jonathan Ayala.
Just to be clear, in Final Cut Pro 7,
it's down there.
if you had a number of things applied to a clip, let's say a scale, an effect, a filter, whatnot, you could copy it and then paste the attributes onto another clip. So you would copy, and you select a clip, hit Command Option B, I think it is.
It was so useful.
Yeah, it would come up and say, just paste this, and this, but don't paste that.
Just want crop.
There is no copy-paste attributes in Final Cut 10.
It's all or nothing.
Yeah, I know. That's one. It's funny about that. That's one of the most requested features of Final Cut. Whenever I teach this all over the place, and it's like, please, really not because
we don't care about multi-clip. We just want to be able to copy everything.
Well, the workaround is really
color correction, or I just want my effect, or
right. I mean, the work. It's not really a workaround. It's just the way it works. Is you copy the clip. Oops, you copy the clip. There we go. And then when you paste the attributes. You're not pasting. You're pasting everything.
Right.
And then when you paste everything, then you go over to the inspector and turn off what you don't want or delete them.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing, but that's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's the workaround.
This is from Eric Emmerich. Do you look for a certain luminance level for the green screen? Oh, so this is back to me.
That's awesome.
All right. Yeah. So luminance. The big thing is that we're using primarily we are looking at the RGB parade, and I don't think we can feed the the parade back into here. We should be able to do that next time.
Put it in the background.
Yeah, key the RGB parade of us here in the back. No, we can't do that. So anyway, you usually look at the RGB parade, which is the luminance of the red, green, and blue separated out.
Right.
And generally what we're looking for is the green being about 70%. So it's about 70 to 75% is where we want to see the green. And we want the red and blue to be as far from the green as possible. Now, our red and blue are at 5 and 10%. You won't get that with white lights. These are green lights. So we have green lights on a green screen, which creates a very, very, very green screen. and that means that that purity is part of what makes the green screen key so well and so easily. So that's the keynotes are more expensive. The bulbs are not $25 each. And you can put them in, by the way, if you're wondering, yes, you can put those bulbs into Walmart little connectors. Now those are expensive. Those are the light panels. And 2 of our light panels actually have green LEDs in them that we're testing, and then 2 of them have a gel on them. We have a lot of light panels. They make us happy.
Final Cut 10 has a parade in it.
Yeah, the Final Cut 10.
There's an RGB parade if you want.
There's the RGB parade right there. So if you show that, so that, and I got to say, the scopes that Final Cut put in there are just so sexy.
What's that? What do you want me to
zoom in on the RGB parade?
Why is there a really bright line there?
What
is that? What is that hard line?
Hard line.
That's a good question.
It's a weird.
That line right there?
Usually that means that there's some kind of line on it.
Some clipping going on. What if you turn the correction off?
Let's see what happens.
Gets thinner.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I don't know.
Let's just do this one.
See that line is.
It's not on the other one.
It's like as if you have like a whiter, some kind of like gray line at the top or something like that. That's usually what that is created by. Anyway,
I think it's a sky. You've got that's the maxed out. You've got no detail on the sky. I think it's what it is.
See,
that's
the sky is just clipping.
Here. Yeah, it's clipping, and then
that's the sky clipping.
That's the sky.
It's been clipped and then brought down.
Yep. That's what's happening. Clips that got pulled down. That's exactly what it is. All right. Last one from Den Smith. Could you demo how to have a mat follow something moving like a color correction on a face or a moving car? And I think we kind of saw that.
We
just did the same thing, and maybe you'd use, if it's a face, you do more of a circle mask, but you just set keyframes.
Yeah,
and move the mask.
Right. But the key is the workflow that's different from Final Cut 7 is you have to set the keyframe first before you move the mask.
Yes. Unless you're doing transformations directly in the viewer, then you don't have to. But let's not talk about that.
Let's not talk about us. Let's talk about you.
All right.
Yeah. So I think we're ready for another one.
Okay.
Great.
You guys ready?
Yeah, I got one.
All right.
All right. So let's switch.
Let's
switch
roles.
Okay. Let's do that. There we go. Forgot my Apple box this time.
Let's see where we are. 1 second to bring it up. And let's see, we got to go to
Napa 2.
Napa 2. And what's Justine doing in Napa?
What is Justine doing in Napa? Hi, Justine.
Yep. Great. I think I am ready.
Do you want to set up your?
I don't need this.
Command 7. Twice.
Yeah. Yeah. When it brings up, it always reverts back to
It must be a feature.
And I'm actually going to hide the inspector for now, just so we start like that. Okay.
Those look like luscious grapes.
They do.
All right.
Start there. All right, we're ready.
Slate. We're already rolling camera, so mark it.
MacBreak Studio, scene 2, take 1.
Full slate.
Nice. Welcome back to MacBreak Studio in beautiful downtown Petaluma at the DV Garage. I'm here with Mark Spencer. Normally he is the motion master guru, but tonight he's going to talk about Final Cut. You're kind of encroaching onto my territory.
I know. Don't worry, I'm just making a temporary excursion.
No, it's great. So you're going to show us some compositing?
Well, here's the thing. Motion is now really deeply integrated into Final Cut Pro 10. Motion 5 is. All the effects, titles, transition generators that are available in Final Cut 10 are actually motion projects.
Correct.
Which is cool. On the other hand, it's not quite as easy to do some of the compositing that you'd want to do from Final Cut to Motion, because you can't do the round tripping that you used to do with Final Cut 7 and Motion 4 and earlier.
Right.
So when I've needed to do compositing, I've started to explore a little bit about the compositing features right inside of Final Cut 10. And they're good, and they're deep. So,
excellent. So we're going to
I'm
going to do a deep dive into Final Cut 10 compositing.
Yeah, a little bit of deep dive into Final Cut Pro 10 compositing, just a little bit, because you can do quite a bit right in Final Cut, and there's a little bit of tips and tricks and little gotchas in there I just want to show you. But there's a lot of stuff you can do right here. So I've got a bunch of clips here. I'm actually not even going to use these, but I just want a few in here. These are, again, from our our Napa shoot, so some stills from our shoot that we're in the middle of, and going back to do some more tomorrow. But what I'm going to do a little green screen here, just to kind of confuse things with, if you're watching this as a recorded show, you don't know that we're doing this as part of a live show and that we're keying the background and talking about that. But I have this shot of Justine right here, and I want to key her. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to select that shot, and I'm going to hit W to do an insert edit, or a wedge.
W for wedge.
W for wedge, right?
Yeah.
To get Justine at the beginning of this project here. And now, let's just play that clip. I'll just select it and hit the slash key to play the clip.
Is Justine like everywhere now? I mean, literally everywhere, all over YouTube?
She's a phenomenon, yeah. Ever since that AT&T bill a number of years ago. So here I've got this little clip of her that was actually shot at the original Pixel Core DV Garage location in San Francisco a few years ago. And I want to key this onto a background. And before I do that, I want to add a background. Now, one thing you can do, I'm going to use the content that comes in Final Cut Pro 10. I'm just going to go to the Generators browser. I'm going to go to Backgrounds. I don't care too much what I use here. I'm going to select these curtains. And if I just hit Q for a Connect edit, it's like, whoa, what happened there? Let me hit Shift-Z to fit it to the window. That thing had a certain duration. Q connected it. That's why the little connection line at the beginning. But it's very long. I don't really want to do that. So instead...
You want to limit your...
Yeah, so I'm going to hit Shift-Z to fit things back to the window. I'm just going to hit the X key, which will select that first clip.
Correct.
Now, I haven't touched anything. I hit Home, I hit X. You can do a lot of this stuff from the keyboard. And now with my mouse over the curtain, if I hit Q, I will get that to basically, it sets in and out points.
You basically performed a 3-point edit. You had your in and out point on Justine, and then your in point and the curtain clip.
Yes. Now I'm going to go ahead and make these a little smaller just for the, I don't want to make quite that small, maybe like, let's make them nice and small. So now what we have is we have Justine on the bottom and the curtain clip on top, which is not what we want, right? We want to change, even though there are no tracks here, there is a stacking order to connected clips.
Right.
And in this case, we want this background to be behind her. Now, the thing is, there's no keyboard command. This is one kind of feature request to move that down. You actually need to drag it down.
Right.
And if you're not careful, you can accidentally
do
that,
it.
right? So what you do, if you hold the shift key down first, that'll force you to drag straight up and down. And notice that yellow line, that's because snapping's also turned on. Right. Not required, but it can also help. But holding the shift key down will allow you to draw straight down.
Excellent.
Okay, and so now I can get that down there. And now I want to key her. So what I'm going to do is go over to the effects browser and go to the keying category. And before I actually do the key, I'm going to matte her. And you talked a little bit in a previous episode about masks and color corrections, but here we have a mask for basically creating a garbage matte.
Well,
So
is there nothing that seems to be needing to be garbaged out of that?
Well, usually garbage matte, you're right. Usually garbage matte, maybe you've got some C-stands or some background or something to get rid of. But usually you want to get rid of as much green as possible, so you're only keying
just the subject.
Just the subject, yeah. So you can see just by mousing over, you can see what it does by default. I'll double click it to apply it to the clip. Select the clip, and now we've got these little handles here, and I really don't want to cut her head off, so I'm going to move these up, and I'll move these down as well. And I can kind of scrub through the clip. I'm just doing it real rough. I don't want it to encroach on her hair there. And then also, if I go to the inspector, it's got a feather, so I can usually do want a nice feather on there, otherwise you might run with an issue. So I've got my quick garbage matte done, and now I'm going to add my keyer. Now you're going to see the first kind of problem come up. Even when I mouse over the keyer, you can see, look, I haven't even applied it to the clip, and it keys it.
Yeah.
The preview keys, which to me is just kind of amazing. I'm just skimming over it, and it previews. So I'm going to click on it to apply it, and it's immediately done a pretty darn good key. Like
I didn't look at her hair. It's just like,
it's phenomenal. And in fact, in the inspector here, if I select the matte, we can get a good sense of like that did a pretty great job. But look at this crazy stuff.
That's from your mask.
That's from my mask. So the first little tip here is that the mask needs to be applied after the keyer, which is not really my order of operations. Usually I would mask it first.
That's true.
But if I just drag this keyer above the mask, that problem goes away. Okay, and now if I go back to the composite, we've got a nice key.
Very nice.
Now, the thing to know about this, I'm not going to go into too much detail on the keying, but it does an automatic key as you see by default. And often, that can be all you need. But if you want it to do it manually, this is what you need to do. You drag the slider, the strength slider, to 0. Okay? So strength really means the strength of the automatic keyer, which has two parts. There's the core and the edge mats.
Right.
And it does it automatically. I can say, no, I want to do it manually. And you use this guy, sample colors for the core, and the edge little tool for the edge. So what I'm going to do is click the sample, and I'm going to sample some area of green in here to key out the green.
Yep.
Now you can make as many samples as you want, and you can make them at different points in time.
But you don't have to hold a modifier key.
Nope, you just click on that. But I could move later in time and say the green changed,
Sure.
and I could add a different sampler over here if the green had changed, and I can actually go between those. Now I'll also add the edge. I'm going to just key her hair a little bit here. Get a little bit better key on her hair. I don't want to go too far. I'll go into the matte. Let me see the matte.
Yeah, that's really
Just about
nice
there.
Gear, yeah.
So you can do it manually, but sometimes that's all you need. So now I've got a nice key. And then just the other thing I want to show you here is frequently it's nice to use composite modes to change the way different elements composite together.
Sure.
And what I want to do is this a little bit flat image. So I'm going to select it and move the playhead back to the beginning of it. I'm going to hit Command-C to copy it. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to paste, but I'm going to do this cool command, paste as connected clip.
Right.
All right, because what that's going to do for me is create a copy perfectly registered above the original. So now I've got two of Justine. I didn't need to, drag or anything. Just Option V will immediately bring a copy of that connected clip. So now if I select that upper clip and I scroll down in the video inspector, I can look at my blend modes.
Sure.
So I've got different blend modes here. And for instance, let's try like an overlay. And that'll give a lot more kind of punch to the image, right? I can turn this one on and off, its opacity, or I can just select it and tap the V key, disable that, and we can see sort of the impact of adding that. Now, if it's too much, I could just decrease the opacity of that blend mode. So I can kind of modulate the impact of that blend mode just by changing the opacity if I like it, but it's a little too strong, so I'll back it up a little bit. Okay.
Very nice.
So just a couple little tips on compositing. It goes a lot further, you know, titling, adding other background pieces, doing animation, but you can create pretty complex composites right inside Final Cut Pro, and you don't really need to go to Motion.
Excellent. So if you have some green screen footage, if you have some clips you want to composite together, just work right in the timeline. Mark showed you some pretty fast and useful shortcuts for moving clips above and below as connected. And of course the drag thing, you have to remember the shift key to drag to constrain it. But Mark also is the author of our awesome Motion 5 fast forward and rigging and publishing products on our website at rippletraining.com. So thanks for showing us, Mark. We'll look forward to some future tutorials and future plugins and great stuff from you.
Great.
Anyway, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you do know Motion, it's basically the same concepts in Motion applied in Final Cut. It thinks the same way in terms of building up layers and composite modes and everything. It really is very similar.
Excellent. So you got all that? All right. Thanks for watching MacBreak Studio.
Cut, but no cut. We're just kind of rolling along.
That's pretty cool.
How long was that?
It felt like about 10, 11 minutes.
Okay.
But there's a lot of stuff you had to cover.
Nice key.
Isn't that a nice key?
Yeah. Well, it was shot pretty
There's
well.
Justine.
Yeah, who shot that? Who shot that wonderful green screen footage? Oh, wait,
That was you guys. Yeah.
That was in the old studio.
Yep.
Yeah. Justine is, it's funny, I was just trading emails with her, and she goes, I get every time a new book comes out, I get all these emails of like, I saw you in a book, so she's
Really?
funny. Yeah, because
She's actually not in the newest one. The Motion 5 book came out yesterday.
Oh yeah,
The new Motion 5 book, but I needed to mix it up a little bit, so she's not in there. But she'll be in other things.
No, she shows up in all kinds of.
Yeah.
She was kind enough.
She shows up everywhere.
Well, we've had a couple shoots where we've had her for other things, and she's been very kind.
Yes.
She's
Very
very very gracious.
She was the host for a couple of our MacBreak studios where she interviewed us.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's funny when you see the stuff that she does on YouTube. Someone was asking me. They were like, "Who does all Justine's green screen and everything else?" I was like, "She does it."
Yeah.
And when she does it, she's doing it just to kind of shame everybody. Like, I have to admit, so I'm doing it with this, and it's all measured carefully, and we do it really well, and that's all fine and dandy. She'll take out a compact camera and use like the internal 720p out of this little camera and shoot some green screen of like a green sheet on her wall.
Yep.
And she'll pull a green screen that actually works.
Yep.
In Final Cut.
And she's blonde.
Well, yeah, and she's blonde over the green screen, and she'll pull the green screen in Final Cut with its own keyer.
You mean that
Like the old Final Cut 7, and she'll just figure it out. It was funny when I first met her. This is before the infamous AT&T bill and everything else.
You have to explain that one.
Oh well, that was the thing. That was one of the things.
Started, yeah.
She did a video. She did this video of her going through her AT&T bill from her first iPhone.
Right.
It was like this huge thing, and I was speaking at PodCamp Pittsburgh, and she was just in my class, and she was the one that was asking all the questions and really technical questions about Keen, and it was a green screen class and Keen and everything else. She's really figured this out, and but I had never, I hadn't heard of it, and she came up and she was talking to me. She goes, "Yeah, and I work on this magazine." I said, "Oh, what do you do in the magazine?" I was kind of looking at her. She goes, "I do the magazine." She does all of it, like the InDesign, everything. It was like, I think with her or one of her friends, but it was just like, but she's very, very technical. Like that, I think people see like all those crazy videos and stuff that she puts on YouTube, and that is just a scrape across her abilities. It's quite a thing. So, anyways, we got some questions.
That's great.
So this is Chris Tuttle, the clapboard guy. Everyone always asks about the clapboard. Can you bring the clapboard out for a second? We knew that this was coming.
We're going to talk about the clapboard.
Let's have a conversation about Alex's very odd obsession about clapboards. Okay, so here.
Yeah, very specific.
People make fun of me because we don't do clapboards. The Pixel Core does not do clapboards like everybody else. So everybody else, say market, and someone comes out and they goes, scene 4. Wait, they go, scene 42, blah, 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 blah. And then they walk off. They don't do that. All right, so there's a couple things about the clapboard. Is that so we generally have everyone use a bottom finger, or 2 fingers to hold it. So we tend to not do that very often unless someone's really, really good at it. And some guys can do this really well. Yeah. That's kind of a style thing, and I get that, but it does not improve the quality of the clapboard. The clapboard, the entire design of this, number one, is to mark it. And one of the things about it is we always, not today because we're just rolling the cameras, but generally we always have the board in. So you'll see us go, when we're normally doing it, we'll see slate in, roll camera, or roll audio, roll camera, whatever. But the point is that the slate is on when we hit record. People make fun of that. And old school guys will always make fun of this weird thing that we do. But man, when you get a whole bunch, because they are from video or from film where that didn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. But when you're doing digital captures and every QuickTime file that you get starts with your slate on the first frame.
You're happy camper, right?
It's
you get that poster frame.
It's really useful. So anyway, now the other thing is so that then they're told, then they wait until they're told, until we're ready for them, that we know that it's in all the cameras and everything else that it has to be, and then you'll hear mark it, and they'll say blah 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 blah, and then they'll drop it. Now they won't. The question was, why didn't he just go and then pull it out? And the reason is that we do this as an exercise to make sure that the person who's slating the video doesn't do this. Because if I got motion blur here and I actually need to sync it. Now we have a lot of tools now that can sync it, pluralize and everything else. But sometimes this, the audio failed or whatever, and we need this to work. And when you do, when this closes, I need nothing else to be moving.
Right.
While this is going down. So we do it as an exercise to make sure that our slate, the person who's marking our slate here, stays there. And then when we tell them to go, then they go. And the silly thing that we do here is we just pop it up. Like, we're done. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. We're done. We're done.
Now that's where they get the style points back in.
This is the style. I personally like a little throw. So I like to do it like this, and then I'm out of there. Some people. What I don't like is this. I think always looks a little like awkward. It looks like I'm trying to do this, but I don't understand. So I like to try to keep this hand, kind of in the same place. And this one is always where people start. But I always, do this, and then, that's the Alex Lindsay signature for the thing. Like, hey, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm going back and I'm having a burger. So anyway, that's the slate thing. So that's what we do. And that's why we do it. That's probably a completely useless piece of video, but trying to spread my neurosis around the internet.
No, I got 2 useful things out of that. That was good.
Well, very good. I'm glad. It actually is useful. Like, it's one of those things that you don't need it very often. You can almost shoot the stuff out of it, but having that front slate and being able to and when you need to key that, there have been many times when we need to, like, especially multi-clips. It's really useful. Media management. Back to you guys. Let's not talk about me. Let's talk about you. All right. So I have media from Final Cut 7, Final Cut 10, GarageBand, Purchase Clips, and more. What is your recommendation for organizing and searching all of these to find the right clip? It seems that Final Cut 10 media browser doesn't see it all.
Well, the short answer is it's not going to see it unless it actually exists in an event library, in an event. If it's not in an event, it won't see it, period. You have to bring the media into an event, and then Final Cut Pro is this awesome...
And just digging through it.
Digging through it, right. But I mean, it's not going to go out and look at your hard drive and see all the clips that you have there. I mean, look, here's the bottom line is if you really want a media management asset management application, then get that Cat DV software.
Right.
Because then now you have a catalog. You can meta tag it, and then it's writing sidecar files, and then that's the thing I'm gonna focus on next is Cat DV to manage all this media. It doesn't matter where it came from.
And I'm kind of excited about that. I have to admit that I kind of had written off Cat DV because I was kind of like, oh, it was good when I had DV tapes. You know,
Well, that's right.
I always think of it as like, it was good when I had DV tapes, but like, why?
They're
Because
still around.
We were
I was
using
like,
it
what
for
are they-
live shows to send graphics. We would line up all our QuickTime files and have cues, and Cat TV would shoot all that stuff out. Is that right? No?
He's
I'm
got
wrong.
I
I got to ask my buddy John, who's
It'll
a
do a
lighting
playback?
director. I thought, well, he had. I remember he told me it was Cat TV. We ran it off a G5, so this is a few years ago. Maybe the brain cells are going, but I thought that was the asset management that we loaded with QuickTime files, and it would feed the server. I don't know, to shoot the clips on the stream.
what we use is a program called
server.
Playback Pro for live events.
Okay, well,
So-
this was all live, but I don't know. Cat TV was part of the mix. I know that. I didn't run it.
That's fascinating.
definitely
I never
part
thought of using it that way. But yeah, I'm very.
Well, the
so I
idea
need
is
to
that
get
Cat DV is going to write all the metadata sidecar
Right.
files that Final Cut Pro 10 will be able to read.
right.
To me, the great thing about that is like all your media can be tagged, and then when it comes into Final Cut, it'll read those metadata sidecars. It's great.
And you can actually string out. You can do, cut something together in Cat TV, and Final Cut will read that as a project.
Yeah.
Nifty. Very nifty. Mics. They've noticed that some of the shotgun mics. Back to me. They've noticed that some of the shotgun mics are overhead. What brand are they? These are the NTG 2s, the Rode mics. They're kind of a cheap 416. I wouldn't say that they are as good as the 416, but they are close enough for the price because these are about $300 rather than $1,200. And we had one break, and if it was $1,200, I'd be really, really bummed, and I was just minorly bummed. It was kind of like, ugh. But I wasn't like, I'm going to kill myself. Anyway, so no, so there, and one of them's Liana's. Liana has lent us one of them. We have two, and Liana had one, and so a lot of us have the same one. So someone was asking about the significance of clustering the tips. The reason is that sound is very slow. Like it may seem like it's fast, like the speed of sound and everything else, but it doesn't move very quickly. And what happens is that if the mics are far apart, especially on like a live show, what happens is that this one pointed to Mark, his sound gets to him, but it also gets to the other one a millisecond later, and it ends up you hear this kind of echoey chorus kind of thing. So when you're actually picking people up, it's oftentimes you can get those mics, and there's actually really high end 788. We don't use that often, but the 788. I mean, the 788 we use all the time. It's what I use. I just had to have a moment there. I just love my 788. So anyway, it's like every day I find something new in that recorder that I like.
Like Jen and Dean to record that.
Yeah,
my 788.
788. So anyway, that's such a sweet recorder. So anyway, so it actually has millisecond, you can delay it to pull things back together and everything else. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Motion. So I prefer to use motion. I start there and render the movie and bring it into Final Cut. Bummer. Well, it's not a bummer. I mean, there are definitely times. This is a straightforward key, but there are definitely times when you need to do a lot more work.
Well, there's two comments on that. One thing is the keyer that is here in Final Cut comes from Motion, and but if you open that same keyer in Motion, you'll see a whole extra present for you.
Present.
Is it wrapped?
It is wrapped in a disclosure triangle.
That's why Apple wraps all their presents in like little triangles.
And if you click that disclosure triangle, you'll see a beautiful set of controls for very precisely determining the color space that is being keyed out, and also things like light wrap.
Yeah.
So you can use the background to light wrap around the foreground that you can't directly in Final Cut. So that's comment number one. Comment number two is, you can render a movie out of Motion and bring it into Final Cut. You can also save your project as one of these browser items. So if it's a title as a title, or it's an effect as an effect, and that way it'll be available in the effects browsers in Final Cut, and then you can apply it to a clip.
That's interesting.
Now, that's useful if you think you might want to use it more than once. Like it's like you're making sort of a generic, super cool, grungy look. Why not save it as an effect so you can use it in other clips? But if you're doing a specific show open that you don't think you're going to, just drop on something, you probably will render out something. Because right now, you cannot take a motion project that you made and import it into your Final Cut timeline. The way it has to get into your project is through one of the browsers. But there's no reason you can't just publish it to a browser and then drag it into your timeline. It's an extra step.
Right.
Yeah.
I lost my internet connection for some reason.
Rats.
Says network
You are not connected to the internet.
It was working a second ago, and then it just stopped. It works. It works over there. Doesn't work over here. Carolyn, is there any other questions that I missed? Oh no, I missed that one. What was it? Can Photoshop? Is there in Photoshop they can do complex shapes? Is there a similar tool in Final Cut? Can you draw complex shapes in Final to mask in Final Cut?
Can you do complex shapes? Well, for color correction, you're limited to
Squares and circles.
Squares and circles, and in between squares and circles. But for masking in general, like one of our free Ripple training effects is an 8-point garbage mat that you can, if you want to mask something, you've got 8 points to work with, and you can make complex shapes with that. But there's no pen tool where you can sit there and draw what you want to do.
But
there is in motion.
There is in motion.
Right.
There is in motion.
You
Yeah,
want something more
both
complex
Bezier
motion,
and B-spline
Right.
in motion.
The organic B-spline.
Any others, Carolyn? So if you manually adjust the color frame in Final Cut and then you hit auto white balance, what is it auto white balance? The original frame or the auto balance or the color corrected frame?
I don't understand the question. I'm not aware there is an auto white balance in Final Cut 10.
Yeah, well, there's just the this guy.
Oh, you're talking about that. Oh, yeah, that's what you meant. That's not an auto white balance.
Or if you balance it, not an auto white
Okay,
balance.
so the question.
Oh,
Yes, yeah. So, what's it balancing to? Is that the idea?
No, if you like, there's no correction on this. If you would apply a correction to your clip and then you white balance, is it white balancing the source clip or is it white balancing the color corrected clip?
No, depending on where it is in the chain, right?
Sort of stacking order, I think.
Yeah. I think it would just grab it if it was before the chain or after the chain.
Wait, are we talking about? Oh, okay. Wait, balancing or match color? I'm
Balancing.
So confused. Okay.
So color.
I guess I would say
let me explain how the balancing works. Okay. You can have Final Cut Pro actually run an algorithm to see what's actually happening if you do it automatically when you import it. Is Final Cut Pro is going through every frame and trying to find a neutrally balanced frame. In other words, it's, of all the frames, trying to find one that's closest to neutrally balanced. And it's looking at a couple things. It's looking at black levels, white levels, midtones, and color balance of all those channels.
How about peakedness?
It looks at everything. Now, peakedness, did you say like jaundicedness? It looks at everything. And
he was looking kind of sick, and then he looked better, and then he looked really good, and then he looked sick again.
Exactly. Well, it finds that, you know what that's called? That's called finding a reference frame. And so when you click the
where I come from, that's called Scotch.
That's Scotch.
All right. So anyways,
if you look at the screen right here, we've got a shot here. If they can read the screen, so this was natural. This shot this way, but there's this dawn color.
Sure.
If we hit color balance here, it attempts basically to white balance it. Right, it tries to balance out all that extreme color cast.
Well, right. It does, but you know what it does? It's still having to pick a reference frame. The difference is it's using the playhead position. So wherever the playhead is, that's the reference frame.
Right.
But yes, in a sense, what you're saying is true.
So let's try what they said. Let's go ahead and add a correction onto this that's kind of extreme. Let's just, make this really magenta, and then color balance it afterwards. And it looks to me like it's color balancing the original clip and leaving the correction in place.
Can you set it in a different place in the?
You can't drag these around each other.
That's what's happening.
So it looks like it's color balancing the original clip.
Correct.
Okay. Well, there you go. There's your answer. Carolyn, anything else? So people can actually hear me. So if we go like this.
They can hear Carolyn now. That's actually kind of cool.
It is cool. I like it.
Sucks it right out.
So Final Cut XML, what is possible now? What is coming? It's different than just the last XML, right?
What? Well.
So, say that again, Carolyn. It's Final Cut. What's changed? You're saying. So what's possible with the new XML format?
Well, that begs the question. Have I actually looked at the actual XML white paper that Apple published, which I have not? I mean, you'll find everything you need in the API that says this is this is essentially what
is anyone
what was
using
possible.
it?
Yes, in fact, I was going to show this tonight, but Philip Hodgetts just wrote a what was it called? X squared 7 x to 7
Project X to 7.
And basically, he's using Final Cut Pro XML, the Final Cut 10 XML, to essentially take your Final Cut Pro 10 timeline and have it open in Final Cut 7 or After Effects.
No, most people want to go the other direction.
Correct. And he's aware of that. But I'm
Just in case you wondered.
Right.
A lot of people aren't trying to go from Final Cut 10 to Final Cut 7. They're trying to go from Final Cut 7 to...
But what he answers in that, if you download his thing, he answers what's possible, what gets translated. Like, for example, all the clips come across, markers, connected clips,
End of
transitions.
war. Peace in our time.
Yes, and meaning of life. All of that comes across.
42. All right.
But yeah, but there's some things that don't.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
But also Resolve, right? The XML allows you to take a Final Cut sequence and send it to Resolve now to do your color correction.
Or smoke.
Or Smoke.
Smoke.
So you can take your Final Cut 10 projects and do finishing.
Is that working? Is the
in
Smoke
other
working?
applications.
I haven't seen it yet.
That's
no.
the rumor.
Yeah. Well, that's what Apple announced, but I haven't seen
Right.
it work in smoke yet.
Other questions, Carolyn?
It's weird that you're like offline.
So if I record two lav mics, L and R, and how do I unlink them and make them stereo?
They
already are in Final Cut.
Well,
already are
go
stereo,
open up.
They're already stereo.
Open up. Yeah, go back to there.
Unless I guess you had them in two individual
Going
tracks
into
in a quick
open
time.
up.
You could have them theoretically
Open up
centered.
Weekend Rolling Drop. Open up that. Okay. Change. Wait a second. Once you see there's a little tiny clip, a little green clip, that connected clip over there.
This guy?
No, the sound effect. Go there.
This guy,
Select
so-
that.
Yeah.
Okay, now select that and then point out how that's a stereo right now. But let's
see it's
pretend
stereo.
it's a stereo. But let's say if you clicked on that, you can then choose dual mono, and then you could choose what channel you wanted,
you
left
just-
or right.
Yeah. so-
Right, but that's not the same as I want to see both of them in the timeline at the same time. You know, right, no, what you're
you're not-
doing
You
right
actually
now is
see them in the timeline.
Yeah.
We're choosing which one plays,
exactly.
but you only see. We need to put this back to a view where we can see audio. Let's make the audio big. And
Okay, see the thing
so
is
you want to be able to see to both of those.
now
at the time.
right click on that, choose break apart clip items.
Hey, we work together pretty well this way, don't we?
Yeah, this is nice.
You guys
Okay,
should
look at
like,
that now.
do
Scroll.
shows
Look at that.
Okay.
Now you actually see the left and right channels together.
And can you pan
Wow.
them? Then you can pan them
You can pan them
individually.
individually. Yes,
Look at
that's how you do it.
Can you
Yeah,
pan them?
it's
Or do you
scarier.
have to go to the
No,
inspector
you have to do it in
pan them?
inspector. There's no way to pan directly on the,
Got it.
yeah.
Oh, and you have to use the pop-up menu.
Well, you pick go ahead and pick stereo left, right, or space, and then now you'll see. Now you'll see the panner
Now
for
you-
that.
Ah,
channel.
okay.
You see,
I
there's
see.
the panner.
Yeah, yeah. Now you can pan left or right.
Just subtly.
Cool.
Yes.
Just a little bit here, a little bit there. Very good. Carolyn, any other questions? Can you feather with a color correction mask?
Can you feather the color correction mask?
Feathers,
Steve did it.
The feathers built into it.
Yeah, the feather's built right into it.
And can you control it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go back.
Yeah.
Go back to
Yes,
the
where are those
quintet.
quintet-
Select the
No,
first
we're not
clip.
talking about what it
Yeah,
is.
select the first clip. And then
select go to
video,
video,
and you got to
on
click
the
that little.
mask.
There you go, and then show them where
And
the feather control
this
is.
is the feather
That's-
control
see,
right
yeah.
Look at
here.
that. Saucy.
It is saucy. Saucy.
It is saucy. Look at that. Look at that cat. All right. Anything else, Carolyn? I'm sorry. What did you just say? Because what it sounded like is there a way to manage thoughts in Final Cut 10? And I was like I have enough trouble managing thoughts in the real world. I don't expect Final Cut 10 to do any better. So what was the question again? Oh, fonts. Is there a way to manage fonts? That's more up our alley. Other than just all the fonts that you have available to you are the fonts that you have
any
available
font
to
in
you.
your system is available, and whenever you select a title, let's not select that one, but let's select this one.
Assembler.
Yeah, the assembler. Let's bring this where everything's in
This
focus.
one? Yeah.
If you select text, you can change that text to any font you want. What's kind of nice is this works like Motion now in that you can see the font in the pop-up menu, what it looks like, and it also updates directly in the viewer, so you can immediately see what that font looks like.
But the way I heard the question, correct me if I'm wrong, is controlling the fonts that actually appear.
Which
in that
ones
way.
you show? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
would like font book control that or?
Yeah, you would do that externally.
In font book.
Yeah.
Right, I was saying you could turn off certain fonts so they wouldn't
In
appear
font book,
in there.
yeah. You'd have to do it externally. Yeah.
Any other questions, Carolyn? We're caught up, and I think we've had a long day. Just our poor crew, and
You've been shooting Salesforce all day, haven't you?
yeah, we got here at we got here. Started setting up. We got finished about midnight last night and got out here at 7:30 in the morning.
Oh,
so our poor guys.
It's been a long day.
They're jamming along.
They're sleeping over.
Yeah, they're like.
right now.
I'm still surprised that we're getting a switch. I'm kind of expecting us to just suddenly just see one long clip. And then we know that Jeff is asleep.
They've left.
Yeah. So there. See, he's just showing. Hey, I'm awake.
I'm here.
I'll show you. I can even pull a key. So anyway, so we are going to go into our little after show, and we want to thank everyone for watching this. Let us know what you think. Go ahead and tweet it or email us or that type of thing, and those types of things, those social media things that you do. Let us.
You are punchy.
I am feeling a little punchy, if you haven't noticed. It's been a long week. So, yeah, let us know what you think of this. We thought it'd be a lot of fun. I had a good time. I don't think I like our roundtable talk. So this will not be a regular. This will, I think that we'll do this every once in a while, maybe once a quarter.
By the way, remember
We'll
Brian
watch the
Gary?
shows.
Remember Brian?
I remember Brian Gary. When is Brian Gary going to come back?
Well,
and
he
visit us?
he just executive produced. He got Stephen King's Bag of Bones.
Wow.
So he's best buddies with, not best buddies, he's friends with Pierce Brosnan, who was the lead in it. And he was up in Halifax shooting this thing, because it has a New England kind of look. And now he's doing the Post right now in LA. And so that's a huge feather in his cap.
Congratulations, Brian.
But maybe we'll get him back up.
We should have him back up here.
We need to get. We get him show what he did.
Yep.
We should have Billy Fox up here talk about Footloose, too.
Yes.
Would be good.
One more question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Rendering HD footage to SD footage makes video soft. What's the best rendering process in Motion to do that?
In Motion?
Is it in Motion? Is that what you said? There is a. I believe that if you use, I don't know how to do it in Final Cut or Motion. I know that there are different algorithms that you can use. Bilinear will tend to make things sharper when they get smaller. Bicubic will tend to make them softer. So the standard way of scaling
Wait, are you
things
talking
down.
about Photoshop now?
I'm just talking about scaling in general. Photoshop is a scaling.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of different ways. We were just talking about some of this. So bilinear will tend to sharpen things when they go down. Bicubic will tend to make them a little softer as they go down. Nearest neighbor will make them very aliased, crunchy. And so those are some of the options.
Well, they can use compressor and they have the frame controls built in. That's really, you're going to get the best.
You're going to get as good as it's going to get. I mean,
yeah,
it's
compressor's what you want to use.
I have to admit, I just don't know. I mean, we had somebody ask us about standard def the other day, and I was like, I don't know anything about standard def anymore. I mean, we stream in standard def, but that's about all it is. And Wirecast does whatever it does to get.
Usually it's the other way around that you have to deal with is bringing the standard def up.
But it is true,
to HD,
especially if
blow
you
it up.
really are converting it. There's something about getting it into the DV format or getting it into there that just blocks it up. I mean, converting to SD is not. I apologize, but it's not pretty.
Well, especially if you literally go to DV-NTSC as a codec, you're just going to kill it.
Yeah, it's just
All those
it's an
stair
ugly
steps along there.
Yeah.
That's so ugly. Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't mean. I'm sure that you're doing great things with your standard def or your HD down to standard def. I don't know how to make it much better. It's Try compressor.
Yeah, we actually just came out
Don't
with
just
a
scale it in
compressor
motion.
tutorial for $29, and we have a whole chapter on up converting and down converting HD to SD, SD to HD.
Perfect. Yeah, you don't want to just do it in motion. Take it in motion, scale it down.
Yeah.
Do it in compressor.
Yeah.
Gotta do it in compressor.
Yeah, do it in compressor.
Because it uses optical flow. It uses
Does it use optical flow?
for standard conversions.
Man, those guys
why you gotta
pulling
use it,
out all
yeah.
the stops.
Yeah.
All right,
He's
Mark
tired.
Spencer, Steve Martin. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us, Alex.
thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
And thanks for watching, and thanks for participating in this special MacBreak Studio Live.